Hi everyone, it's STM. I'm going to talk about the liberal movements that we see in society today. Now, again, I am going to do this from a perspective that I want it to be open-minded. I want you to use your own minds. I want you to be able to reflect on the things that I'm going to say and to be able to come up with your own conclusions. But I am going to share my opinions on what I think is happening in the world. As you guys know, I am very feminine, 150 billion%. In fact, I have not found any girl that is similar to me, both in my femininity and in my outlook in life. My outlook in life is completely aligned with the alpha male outlook, which is why I track them. I've never had, let's say I've always had an overabundance of suitors, to the point where the only way to get me to run away from you is to say, I want to marry you right now. Then I'll run away. I'll run away. I'll be terrified. I've never, ever, ever been at loss. And what's interesting is I found all my career girlfriends to have the biggest problems with finding a guy or keeping a guy or making a guy happy or being happy in marriage or all these things that for me are like, it should be really easy. I don't see why you're having a problem. But I'm also like a 1950s girl, also raised by my grandmother. The career woman does not work in society. I know it's sad. It works if you're a career daughter, but as a career wife, it doesn't work in society. Society is not welcoming for women to be like men because the feminism movement did not change the ideology and the principles of our world today. So let me explain this. When I was an undergrad at UC Irvine, I was a philosophy major. At first I was a bio major, but then I turned to humanities and did philosophy. I was valedictorian of the whole humanities department. There's like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands. I have no idea. But I was number one out of all of the major, like all of the department. I was the director of the Humanities Peer Coordinator Program. In addition to, not only the director, but also the one who initiated it with Dr. Dennis, who was my professor, Dr. Laura Dennis, who graduated from Cornell with a PhD in philosophy. And she was a feminist, and she was also a lesbian. She was completely feminist and completely, was really, really, really like big on that. But she also was extremely intelligent in the sense that she would tell us how society was structured and let us be able to understand the truth of the matter of it all. And so I remember taking a class with her one day. And actually, I took many classes with her. I was her favorite student because I was a top student, but also because she saw me as a very feminine girl. And she made us all read an article that said, the following: a beautiful girl is a waste in a science lab. And we all read it. And it was about how when you're a beautiful girl, society already labels you as someone who just needs to sit and wait and be pretty and get married. That is what beautiful girls do. Beautiful girls just get, hitched up, really quickly. And that to do any sort of thing other than that, residency, be in a research lab, to blah, 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 to work, is taking away from your beauty and actually would be a loss to society because you need to be outside in the sun looking pretty. Just like Cyndi Lauper's song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. You need to be pretty. That's your role in society, is to just look pretty. That's it, as a beautiful girl. It's not your contributions to society. It's not your intelligence. It's just your beauty. And as we finished the paper, nobody questioned her. Nobody. It was sort of about the feminism movement and how basically, women who were not attractive wanted to get into the work field thinking that they could either cheat on their husband or find someone else or whatever it was. It was actually a movement that was totally against a woman's looks, sort of thing. So it was for women who didn't have enough looks to be able to land the alpha male. when I read that, it definitely troubled me, because I had all these dreams, like I want to be this and that. But I also remembered my grandfather who told me that everyone needs to get their doctorate degree, including girls, everyone in our family. But when you get married, you become a housewife. And it is a given that a man provides for you, a man takes care of you, a man works really, really hard. The goal of a man is to work super hard. The goal of a woman is to look pretty. That is what my grandfather said. And that is what pre-feminist movement said. I was reading an article about the hotter girls are conservative. And it's true. The ones that believe in chastity. The ones that believe in the Republican conservative view. The liberal view is actually taking away from women. It really is. The whole Trump, marry Melania's, and raise Ivanka's comes from that principle. It doesn't come from him. It comes from the pre-feminist movement. So it's so important to understand that. Like I said, I have many girlfriends and they've always struggled. Even the ones that are like corporate attorneys, neurosurgeons, all these things, they always marry less than them. Because again, the men who are alpha males don't want these alpha female women to marry. They want the woman that they can take care of. They want the woman that's dependent on them. They want the woman that's happy when he buys her a dress or buys her food or does something that, he makes life easy for her. She's appreciative. And she trusts that he's always going to give her the best and he's always going to take care of her. That's a beautiful thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. It's your job to decide whether your grandmother's time was better than this time or not, because you can't just say the world has changed. You have to ask yourself, what changed from my grandmother's time to this time? And all you'll see is the feminism movement. Women started working and being breadwinners. That's what changed in our society. And you say, well, then how are we going to be able to survive? And you don't need to live very rich. You don't need to have two incomes. You can have one income. And actually, Forbes says that actually when women don't work, the man makes more because he's more motivated to have multiple jobs and more motivated to make more money because he's like, I'm not depending on her salary. I'm not depending on her income. Her income is going to be zero. So I am going to work super, super hard, longer hours, find another this, da-da-da-da-da, be here, do this, da-da-da-da-da, open up my company here. And he's going to be more ambitious to actually make more money. And he's going to end up making more money than he would have if he were just to split the salary with you. And on top of that, he wouldn't have to worry about daycare, private schools, these kind of things, the laundry, a maid, all these other things, because he has a housewife. So it actually ends up saving money. I've read the studies, you guys. I've read the studies. So read that article. Forbes says marry housewives. It's actually better even financially. And I know it's hard to understand that, but if you think of my grandfather's life with my grandmother, it's pretty easy to understand that. She was helping him a lot in the work fields, and they were making so much more money because she was so active and helping him and being the secretary and helping him. He was able to work even more than he would have normally worked because she was even helping him. So it's beautiful. I believe, as being somebody who's had an overabundance of suitors because of my feminine nature, and that it's good to have my voice out there in society, because all we have are feminists and liberals who put people like me down too. That like, you need to do this or you need to do that and you need to advance here and you can't just wait and be pretty. Why not? That's what my grandmother did. That's what her time period did. She waited and she was pretty. I mean, yes, she did go to the pharmacy. She heard about someone. There's nothing wrong with going somewhere if you find that there is someone that you really do like, and of course they're going to say yes to you based on your beauty alone, because like I said, when you look at the Old Testament and you see why Jacob loved Rachel, it was her beauty. Why Abraham loved Sarah, her beauty. But that beauty on the external is coming from somewhere. It's not just some physical, it might be the nose, the cheekbones, but there's more to it too, because if you were lying your whole life, your nose is growing like Pinocchio. You know what I'm saying? So the inner beauty radiates on the outward. So virgins are beautiful. I always say that. And people it's the truth. They are. So the inner beauty that you possess actually radiates to the outward. It makes you more young, youthful, beautiful. So it's a beautiful trait to have. And this feminist movement where I see all these protests and all these women and all these angry people that really should be getting dolled up, fixing a nail that I'm about to fix, doing sorts of things, looking pretty, being beautiful, all these things are amazing and wonderful. we're not putting emphasis on that stuff. And we need to. We need to start putting emphasis on a girl, yeah, just looking pretty and waiting is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and it will. I'm telling you, I've always had an overabundance of, I don't think anyone's ever had more suitors than I have. People literally even get married and come back and tell me in front of their wives, I wanted Sarah. They have no problem saying it. It's that vocal. It's really crazy. But why? Because of that femininity. That is what attracts a masculine male. That's what attracts them, the femininity. And society's going to try so hard to take that away from you, because when you get into that and you are a breadwinner and you are these things, your attitude changes. You're meaner. You're more difficult. You're more demanding. You're not impressed by little things. You're not impressed by hole-in-the-wall restaurants. You're not impressed by little things, because for you, it's like, I can spend money on myself and do whatever I want by myself. I don't need you. But when you actually realize, and one of the things my father taught me, so I could have that, he's like, I want you to understand that money doesn't grow on trees, so you can be appreciative. Because I was given everything as a child. Even as a teen, everything. I had everything I ever wanted. If I wanted a Mercedes, I got it. If I want this, I got it. You know what I mean? And then my father, because he wanted me to know that I didn't need a man. I had my father. He was my sugar daddy, my dad. But then, he's like, now, as you're like, sort of in that, that stage, in the middle stage, to like actually move on to being married, then you need to learn the value of money and the value of things, because not everyone's going to be like your daddy, because my dad was like really, really spoiling me. And so he started to put limits on me and tell me the money doesn't grow on trees. It was really hard for me in the beginning to understand that. But later on, I realized, and I stopped. There were things that I wanted, and I'm like, don't do it, or don't buy it, or don't do this, or you don't need it, or it's okay. You know what I mean? And save money here. And I started actually saving, and I actually started saying, no, we can save money. We don't have to spend this. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do this. And so even in Mexico, people were confused. My last years of my life, I didn't die. My last years of my life in Mexico were spent actually. They were all surprised because I was flying home every weekend. My parents paid for that, obviously, because they wanted to see me. But, they were like, Sarah's like really wealthy, well off. But how come she lives in a very tiny little apartment? Like, it was like in a really it was right across the street from the school. But it was like not, posh by any means. It was dirty. It was like, there were roaches. I mean, I lived in some, and I had to clean. Obviously, I cleaned it. It was horrible. I don't even want to think of I just get so disgusted when I think about the roaches I used to see. They were small, but still, it was so gross. I ended up putting tape on I lived in because it was right across the street from the school. And I just wanted to wake up and cross the street. That's why I lived there. It was like, it's so convenient. I didn't want to drive. It was so easy. I loved it. And I lived right above an OXXO, which is like a 7-Eleven. So I got like all my stuff from there. It was wonderful. Because it was right next to, what I could buy, like things like that. It was great. So I loved it. But people were like, how could you live like that? And my dad was always like, I can get you a really nice place. And I'm like, no, $400 a month? Why would you spend $1,000 something? No, I'm fine. I'm happy. So I learned to like put my sort of, elite desires aside and actually live simply. And I was super, super happy, to the point where I learned to appreciate those things. I really did. I learned to appreciate the little things in life. But that was, again, because of something my dad wanted to instill in me, the value of money and the value of how things are, because I really had no concept of money. And sometimes I feel like I still don't, but I'm getting better, because everything I ever wanted was just handed down to me. Everything. It was like, you want a Chanel this? Here. You want this? Here. I never had that, concept of, it was always like, you're a beautiful girl. We're going to take care of you always. But I've learned, those are things that I'm even now, I'm still learning. Like now I shop very little. And I even told my mom, I'm like, I want to buy something. And she's like, Sarah, don't spend so little. I'm like, I want to spend very little, because I've become someone that really likes to spend so little. And I think that they sort of, I think my father like scared me to the point where I was like, I need to be really careful, because I had no concept. And I think my mother told him, you never gave Sarah or anyone in our family, actually, a concept of money, because everything was always just given to us. And they were worried that I would be like, not appreciative. So I've learned that. But again, all these things are non-feminist. All these things are feminine. All these things are being a girly girl. I've never learned to dissociate from my parents. I've learned that now. I'm learning and I'm growing, and it's nice and it's hard, but at the same time, I'm learning things. I've changed things about myself. Because, like I said, I was so super conservative and protected. I grew up in a very Republican, conservative, radical Christian home. And I'm not even close to, I'm the exact opposite of a feminist. So I'm looking at these movements like they're crazy. I don't understand them. So, like I said, it's okay to be, not that. It's okay to be like, yeah, I'm just waiting, looking pretty. That's all I have to offer. But there's more than that, because waiting is a sign of purity, right? Because it's chastity. It's actually waiting. It's not going out trying to find a guy. It's called waiting on the Lord. So that's pure. And then beauty, that beauty comes from more sleep, more taking care of yourself, more, doing things that are feminine. It's beautiful, to be feminine, because that's godly. God wants women to take care of themselves. Esther spent months, and I think even a year even, with perfumes and makeup and learning how to put it on and all these things to impress the king. So it's very, very godly, holy, and beautiful. And I don't go out and attack feminists saying, okay, you all want to have careers and go look for guys, go ahead. That's considered the norm, but no one should attack me that just looking pretty and waiting is all it is. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's like, it's the attitude of my grandma's time. And that's a beautiful attitude, to be rescued, to be protected, to be in distress. You know what I mean? To be like waiting for someone to carry you and protect you and take you into their home and just like, and train you to be his and what he wants, you to be. Because you're very moldable. Like my father knows how to mold me. He's my father, and I have that kind of relationship with him. So when he was like, okay, we're going to learn the value of money, in the beginning, it was so hard. So like, he was like, okay, I'm going to give you an allowance. And I never had an allowance in my life. And I was like, okay, that was hard. Oh my God. And I was like struggling. It was hard. I had to learn. But that's good parenting, because again, obviously as you get older, there's certain things that you need to learn. And I learned. And it's like, so I got sort of, adapted to an allowance and that sort of thing, because I didn't really have a concept of money. As most women don't, actually. I mean, most women who are conservative and taken care of. Women who do have that kind of concept, usually because they've dealt with it and have a lot of ulterior motives, and it's actually dangerous when they do. I get really scared of women who control the accounts. I get scared. I would never want to control money. I get scared of those kind of women. A lot of Egyptian women especially, they're like, I control the money. And I'm like, that's scary. Like, I would never, ever, ever want to control the money. I would want my husband to do that, because I'm like, sorry, I don't have a concept of it. I was raised with extreme wealth, and I say that with a straight face. I was raised with everything I ever wanted. I think, I literally, my dad had to tell me money doesn't grow on trees. I'm learning that now. So I've been paying attention to that. So it's hard for me. But now it's easy. Now it's like, I'm like super careful, because I sort of went the other extreme with my anxiety. I'm like, okay, I gotta be careful. Okay. So I try to save like $1 here and there and all these things. I've learned to do that. It's crazy. People look at me like, how come you didn't order a Coke? Because I have one. Yeah, but you had one 7 hours ago. Yeah, but it's okay. I don't want to spend $3 extra. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? That's me. It's crazy. I know. But I think that it's okay. But like I said, those are feminine things. But feminists, they have a huge concept of money because they're working and they make money and they care about their money and they're thinking of providing and they're like very masculine. I think part of the things that I don't really understand and these are good things that I really feel like are beautiful about me, because my father never made me deal with money. I never had to have that. I never had that issue or that problem. Everything was just provided. But he then, told me that not everyone's going to be like my dad, or not everyone's going to be. So I learned, to kind of just, yeah. So again, if someone comes around and then forces me to live the same way I was a long time ago and have like an overabundance and just do whatever I want, I can be molded into any way, because that's the conservative feminine girl. She can be molded by her man. And her man is her father until she gets married. And that's the beauty. And I'm not afraid to say that, actually. I'm proud of it. And I know that with all these liberals marching and stuff, I don't fit in. But at the same time, I'm still proud to be me. Okay, you guys, I love you all. Stay blessed.